Hello, this is Shannon Rothschild with Nex-Tech, and welcome to your profile in the threat landscape. For those of you who attended the live event at Tech Edge on June 18th, you were witness to a glitch that we had in the system, and I apologize for that. So I'm coming back now and re-recording my session in hopes that I can give you a little more information. And if I don't answer the questions that you were looking for, hoping to learn through this session, please shoot me an email or give me a call. I'd be glad to chat with you or email back and forth to get your questions answered. Thanks for coming back to watch, and I hope that you enjoy this session. So today I want to cover 5 important pieces to your profile in the threat landscape. Number 1, why is this happening? Number 2, who is it happening to? Number 3, how do the bad guys get in and make it happen? What can you do to protect yourself, and where can you go to learn more? Why is this happening? Well, as you can imagine, it's all about the cash, right? With the onset of electronic currency via the internet, cybercrime proliferated because a lot of electronic currency, not all, but a lot can go untracked on the internet, and you can demand payment via electronic currency, and then that can never be tracked back to the bad guys. So it's made it so that cybercrime is easy to do and get away with. The dark net exists, even though we don't see it typically or think about it. It does exist. I'll talk about that here in a second. And I wanted to mention there's a movie out there called The Silk Road. It's based upon a true story that talks about cybercrime. And this movie will really open your eyes as to what goes on in the dark web and how bad guys generate income. I encourage you to go find it. You just search for it on the internet. You'll find it. It's free to watch. I encourage you to do that. Cybercrime does exist on the dark web. I wanted to show you this graphic of what internet kind of looks like if it were an iceberg. All that you and I usually see is the tip of the iceberg. Approximately 4% of the entire internet is only what you and I use and see every day. The other 96% is what we call the deep web or the dark web. Deep web stores information such as legal documents, financial records, medical records, those sorts of things, which is highly important information, stuff that you and I don't see every day, but it's out there. Then there's also the dark web. Again, a place you and I don't see, but this is where the bad guys lurk and live. For an example, if somebody's able to steal your credentials on the dark web, or they'd be using a password or a credit card number, those sorts of things, they immediately turn around, sell it, and then those who purchase it try to use it in either the deep web or the web that you and I see, the 4% of what I call the surface web, to try and hack you and get out your information. And the bad guys work fast. Just a matter of minutes. Data out there shows us that state-sponsored hackers can take less than 15 minutes once they get access to your information to actually be breaching your network. It's super fast. And then the average time that a breach can occur until it's discovered is 197 days. Think about that. Almost 200 days of the bad guys lurking in your network, and most people don't even know it. So again, why does it happen? It happens because of dollars. It's very lucrative. You can make lots of money if you can get at people's information and then sell it. So for instance, look down here in the lower right corner of this one graphic. If I can get somebody's bank account login information, username and password, that's worth $5. So if I can breach an entire bank's network, get all their username and passwords, and take $5 times the number of customers that bank has, it adds up fast. So that's why folks do it. So next I want to talk about who are the targets of the bad guys. We've all heard stories of the major breaches that have happened: Equifax, Anthem, Target. You may or may not have heard of Home Depot or Marriott, but I want to talk a little bit about the Target breach and how exactly that happened. So the bad guys didn't actually hack the Target network. What happened was Target contracted with an HVAC vendor, a heating and air vendor, small business, to take care of their heating and air. The bad guys determined that this HVAC vendor was indeed taking care of all the Target stores, and so they decided to target them with a phishing attack, which we'll talk about here in a minute. If you don't know what a phishing attack is, I assume everybody does, but the bad guys were successful at accessing the HVAC vendor network via phishing email. Once they were able to get into the HVAC network, they then discovered a spreadsheet that had all the username and passwords on it for all the Wi-Fis in the Target stores that they managed the HVAC in. Obviously, they didn't do Targets nationwide, but they did a lot of Target stores in their region. Bad guys got the spreadsheet, they got the username and passwords, so they proceeded to drive to the parking lot of one of these Target stores and log into the wireless network from outside. Once they got logged in, they found out that the Target network was not segmented, meaning there weren't VLANs, there weren't different subnets out there to manage everything. It was a flat network for the most part, and so they were able to see everything. Servers, HVAC systems, phone systems, most importantly, point-of-sale systems. They saw all this on the network, so then they were able to install other malicious software, and that's how they then collected all those credit card numbers from all those millions of people who were Target customers. Again, it wasn't because they targeted Target. It's because they targeted a small business who was susceptible, that then led to Target. So why are small businesses susceptible? Why are they a prime target? As I go through this list of reasons, I want you to think about if they resonate with you or not, if you kind of maybe fit into one of these categories. And I'm not saying that if you fit in one of these categories you're bad, I'm not saying that at all. Please don't read into that. I'm just saying this is why most people don't think small businesses are a target for the bad guys, when in fact they are. Number one, we don't have a lot of money to spend on IT security, right? We just don't. Number two, we're not IT pros. You know, we run our business. We don't work in IT, so it maybe doesn't get the detail or the management detail that maybe it should have. We have unpatched machines or aging equipment. Because we are a small business, we're forced to wear many hats, and we don't always focus on IT or IT security. A lot of people think it can't happen to them, right? What do I have that's worth anything? My data's not that big a deal to the bad guys. I don't need to worry about it. And then obviously, education isn't a big deal for a small business, when in fact it should be a big deal. Now, why is it not a big deal? Because maybe we don't have the budget for it. But I can guarantee you, if you were to budget for educating your employees, it will cost you a lot less than if you were to end up with ransomware on your network and having to pay lots of money to get your data back if you wanted to get it back. This graphic shows that there is no difference in who's targeted, whether you're a small business or a large business. The average number of targets per year doesn't matter how many employees you have. The bad guys are after the small business just like they are the large business. In fact, 58% of breaches occurred in small businesses in the past history. So almost 6 in 10 businesses that are hit are small businesses. How do the bad guys get in? What do they use? Well, a lot of you are familiar with phishing campaigns and how they work. We've talked about that a lot. But how do the bad guys set up those campaigns? How do they know how to target? I wanted to show you a video here shortly about how that works. But basically, you get an email, you click an attachment, it has information on it that you don't know it's there, it gets on your machine, and then they're in your network. Or you maybe go to a website, same thing happens. Click on a link, you don't know that that link's malicious, ends up with some bad stuff on your network. A lot of times that bad stuff will sit there for a long time before it actually goes off and does anything. Zero-day threat, they call that. So we'll watch this video, and it's interesting, and it shows you how the bad guys work.
How did you decide to become a hacker?
Well, I'm not really sure what it means to become a hacker. That's like some guy in a hoodie who types really fast and stays up all night writing code and cracking passwords. It's not me. I just spy on people and see what makes them click. It's not a bad job.
Mark Hanning, CEO of Qualicart, set to report earnings after their blockbuster IPO.
So you consider this a job?
I put a lot of work into this. I'm not lazy. It takes research to figure out the key players, learn all about them, their families, their friends, what they care about. You have to understand the company's organization. I get a lot of my information from the sales department because they're always so quick and eager. They're hungry. People trust too easily. They don't look at the details. I do. Details matter. That's what I'm good at. It has to look completely believable. It has to look familiar. This is where research is important. It's not some generic piece of spam. It's an email from their boss with their company signature. It's written in the voice of the boss. It's what he would say if he were writing this.
What about the malware itself? How does that work?
Somebody else out there already wrote all the code that does the actual attack. I'm just using it in the attachment. My skill is in my ability to get a bunch of people to click on that attachment. I always wonder what it's like when the whole thing unfolds on their end, when the panic sets in.
Please leave your message after the beep.
Hey, this is Rajiv in finance. Call me as soon as you get this. Something's up with my laptop. I can't.
Katie, are you on your way into the office? Something's going on with our file servers.
It's Karen in HR. Our benefits dashboard seems really slow. We're getting calls from users on it. Give me a call when you get this. Joining conference now.
Apparently, there's a malware attack targeting our main...
It's ransomware. They're holding us hostage. We're locked out of everything. I can't even check my phone. What about the backup?
That will take days.
We need this fixed now. Pay it. We don't have a choice. We're reporting earnings in 2 hours.
But how do we know that they'll...
Pay it. Put every single person on getting us back up and running. That's the only priority now. Okay, it's done. I have the decrypt key. Mark, we have a big problem. The ransomware was just to distract us. They got inside. They got everything. Customer data, financials, everything.
Qualicart is reeling today from the news that hackers have released the personal information of nearly
The
2
Nasdaq
million
closed lower today, led by Qualicart, which was down 14% on news that the recent data breach may be far worse than the company
Its stock
originally
fell
acknowledged.
to a new all-time low on news that CEO Mark Hanning is stepping down after what is turning out to be one of the worst breaches of personal information in recent history.
Do you feel bad about releasing the personal information? All the financials? All the money that was lost?
All I did was get the files. I'm not the one that decided to release them. I'm not the one that shorted the stock. Somebody else had their reasons for that. It's above my pay grade. I was paid to do a job, and I did it well. And that's what's expected of anyone, isn't it? Anyway, markets bounce back.
So did you see that at the very end, right before you saw the Cisco logo? $1 billion industry in ransomware alone, just in ransomware. $1 billion. And you can see that people are sophisticated. They go out and look at your profile, see who you are, what you do, how you live, where you go, things that you like, and then they use that information to get at you. It happens, whether you live in Kansas or New York City, it happens all the time. Throw this picture of Facebook up here because there's a story out there of this preschool teacher who got a call one day telling her that her Facebook page was down and that she needed to get it back up so that she could use it for a communication tool like she does with her patrons. And in order for her to do that, they had to have access to her SonicWall firewall. And so she called her IT vendor to get the password to the firewall so she could give it to the bad guys. Okay? It happens all the time. May not happen to you yet, but eventually it probably will, where there will be some type of social engineering attack on you. Fortunately, when this person called her vendor for the firewall password, it's like, wait a minute, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? And they figured out it was a scam. Also, we've all, maybe you haven't, but I have, a lot of you probably have, seen where Microsoft's calling people saying, hey, your computer's infected. I need access to your computer to fix it for you. By the way, I'll do it for free if you do this. It's going to cost you money if you do this. Or maybe you see pop-ups on the screen that says your Microsoft operating system is infected. You need to call this number to get it fixed. Those are all malicious codes. Ignore them. You should never, ever take an unsolicited call dealing with anything related to your IT. If you didn't call them and they're trying to call and fix it for you, unless you have a partnership with somebody that you know and trust who's monitoring your network for you proactively, ignore those calls. Mobile devices. Something here we don't think about a lot is malicious code and mobile devices. But think about this. When you install an app on your mobile device, a lot of times you have to agree to allow that app to use ads, right? And what are those ads doing? Well, naively, we think that they're just showing us an advertisement, when in fact, a lot of them are malicious, and we don't even know it. And the problem is, how do we know if they're malicious or not? Well, my advice is don't install an app on a mobile device unless it's reputable, unless you know what it is and who it is and why it's there. And I'll go one step further in that, we have a lot of mobile devices in our home today, right? We have kids with mobile devices, and kids are always installing apps. The concern there is if a kid installs an app on a mobile device, it's malicious, and that malicious code potentially has the potential to jump onto your Wi-Fi network from an Android device. Now, does this happen? Maybe, maybe not. But think about what could happen. Malicious code onto your network, onto your phone. You take your phone into work, now you're on the corporate network, potentially introducing malicious code to your corporate network. My suggestion, just be vigilant about what apps you're installing. There's all kinds of news stories out there about both Android and Apple having malicious code on their stores. Just be vigilant about it. Can't prevent everything, but you can be vigilant and know what you're doing and how you're using it. So next we'll talk about what you can do to protect yourself, your family, and your employer. First of all, there is a FBI website out there, fbi.gov/investigate/cyber. It may look like boring reading, but it's good stuff. I suggest you spend 10 minutes at least perusing it through. They have some great options out there for what you should consider doing for both home and work. Awareness is the big thing. Knowing what you're doing and how you're doing it. And don't be naive to think and trust everything that you see or hear. Do your homework, know where you're at, what you can do. Passwords. Passwords are a big thing, right? Bad guys can't get into your stuff if they don't know your password, right? They have to know your password to get into your bank account. They have to know your password to log into your corporate network. They have to know your password to get into your email. Those sorts of things. Create strong passwords and change them. rotate them. Also, think of creative ways to create passwords. So like here, this one example is use an animal. Okay, they picked the animal of an antelope. And then they said, okay, let's make the second character capitalized. And then it say, how many letters are there total? Well, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So let's put an 8 at the end. And how many vowels are there? There's 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's put a 4 at the end. And we have a special character, so we're going to slash it. So we have antelope, second letter capped, 8, 4 for the number of letters, the number of vowels, and then a slash. So creates a very secure, strong, unique password. Or you can create a phrase and then use the first letters from that phrase. So crazy hackers can't guess my password. So CHCGMP, capital P, 1510 star. So just encourage you to think about creating unique passwords. And then treat your passwords like your underpants. Change them, don't share them, and don't leave them lying around. Saving data. If you're at work, make sure that you're saving your work data in the proper location, right? Save it where you're directed to save it, and that's it. Make sure your computers are patched, they're up to date. Make sure they have antivirus. Make sure that you're checking that to make sure that they're up to date in terms of the antivirus and the patching, Windows updates, those sorts of things. Power your computer off at least once a week. Recommended that you do that. And if you have policies for taking care of your machines, make sure you follow those. But the key is take care of your data, put it where you know it's supposed to be, and keep it there. Reusing passwords. I know we all do it. At least I do it. I'm making the assumption a lot of people do it. But it's not a good idea. Because if the bad guys get your password to one email account and you're using the same password for all your emails and your bank accounts, then they have access to everything, right? So my recommendation and what I ended up doing was using a password manager. I use Dashlane. There's lots of them out there that are good, but Dashlane will create passwords for you that are complex and hard to guess. It's a mix of everything that can be used for a password. They create it for you, and then it's saved in one place, and you have one master password that you have to remember that is encrypted. And so don't reuse passwords for all of your different organizations that you use. Create unique ones. Web searches. We're all good at going to Google and finding something, right? But sometimes we have to be careful about what we click on in a web search. So for instance, this blue line that ends up at the top of each search find, if you will, can be anything that the web developer, the web designer wants it to be. They can customize this to say anything and everything. What you want to look at for sure, though, before you click on the link is this green line here. That green line really does tell you where you're going. And if you don't recognize that as potentially a good thing, or if you think maybe it's a bad thing, not that you're looking for it, then I recommend that you use a site called VirusTotal, said that backwards, virustotal.com. You can copy the URL by clicking at the end of the URL and dragging backwards across it. So if you'd start right here and then drag across it backwards, copy that and then paste it into this virustotal.com website, it will come back and give you the information about that website and tell you if it's malicious or not. I know you can't do that for every web search, but just be vigilant. Just know there are tools out there to help you be more secure in how you're using the internet. Lastly, be the master of your mouse. Be a mouse master, right? So that if you have a suspicious email come in and you think there might be something not right about it, you can always hover over a link. Don't click the link, but just hover over it. And when you do, you'll see a pop-up like this, and you can see if it's really where you're supposed to go. So in this case, it's a Time Warner Cable email, and the primary domain it's going to is timewarnercable.com. So you can say, yes, that's good, yes, we can go ahead and click on that link. We should be good. A lot of times you'll notice that these links aren't going where you think they're going to take you to. So be a mouse master and hover with your mouse. And finally, not just in the office, but at home. We have lots of devices in our home. Internet of Things is a big deal, right? So we might have doorbell cameras. We might have surveillance cameras outside. We might have all kinds of connected music devices, not to mention your computers and your routers and your access points. All those things at your home, believe it or not, are potentially an open door to the bad guys because they're all connected. They all eventually get to the internet. Point is, make sure that you keep those devices up to date. When I say up to date, I mean make sure your firmware is up to date. Make sure there's security updates for them. You get them installed because the bad guys will see that they're not updated. If there's a security flaw in a previous firmware version, it's not updated, they can get in and get to your network and get at your data on your network in your home, and eventually with malicious code maybe even get back to your work network. Not to mention that if you put devices on your home network, make sure you change the default passwords. Never leave default passwords in place because the bad guys know all the default passwords and they'll try them. If they see you have a camera out there, they're going to try the default password, log into that camera, and eventually get to your network to put malicious code on it. So be vigilant at home with how you use your equipment. Keep it updated and patched. Which brings me to my last point I wanted to make about social networks such as Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat. All those types of applications leave a trail of where you've been and what you've done, right? And if you notice in the video I showed, that gal was using Facebook to learn about her targets, right? Just want to caution you about how much information you share on your social networks. Are you leaving enough of a trail that people can impersonate you and then trick somebody else that you may know or that you work with to allow you to get malicious code on the network or allow you to get malicious code in their home PC? It happens a lot, happens all the time. I use social media. I mean, we all use social media. But just want to, how much information are you leaving out there about where your kids live, what they're doing, where they're going to school, those sorts of things. Those are all things that the bad guys use to build up who you are and information about you to then eventually use it against you. So just be cognizant. Just my suggestion is be cognizant of what you're doing and how you're doing it, and be cautious about how much information you share. At Nex-Tech, this last slide, about done, promise. At Nex-Tech, we have taken our cybersecurity and broke it down into 4 different tiers that we offer our customers. We have Protect, Profile, Detect and Respond, and Compliance. In a different session on Tech Edge, Lauren is talking about Detect and Respond and Compliance. Our Tier 2 here is called Profile. And Profile is an offering that we have that allows customers to build their own customized security awareness training platform to help their company understand the importance of security awareness and then to train them on how to use that to protect themselves both at home and at work. And so if you're interested in learning more about that, please contact your Nex-Tech account manager. We'd be glad to share with you how this services work and how it can better protect your network. That's all I had, and like I said at the beginning, if there's things that you were hoping I was going to cover here today that I didn't, or if you have questions about things I covered or didn't cover, please shoot me an email. Right here is my email address, srothchild@nex-tech.com. S. Rothschild. Again, this is Shannon. And my direct line is 785-686-5212. That rings both my desk and my cell phone. Don't hesitate to pick up the phone and give me a call anytime if you'd like. I'd be glad to chat with you. Again, thanks for watching. Hope you have a good rest of your day.